Movies and video games are two branches off of the same media tree. They're distinct yet similar ways to tell a story. Any story, really, about anything the storytellers wish to bring to life. They have inherent separate strengths and weaknesses. At their strongest, each of the two art forms can draw an audience member right into the experience, let them connect with characters, settings, music, art styles, performances, narratives, all for a variety of different subjective reasons that are inherently personal. I remember last year, when the favorite character bingo went viral on Twitter. I love ideas like this, or the favorite game bingo cards simply because every single one is different. No two people will have the same card. Really, this is all applicable to any form of storytelling, from novels to musicals and plays to audiobooks, even to stand-up. Each of these different ways to present tales of non-fiction and fiction present different challenges, but also different triumphs. Choosing which form of media that your story should be is a tricky but absolutely necessary process. Sometimes your first instinct isn't always right. Adapting a series like Avatar: The Last Airbender into a live-action series is a much more potentially seamless idea rather than just going with the crowd and making it a movie. Different forms of media fit different stories, and you have to nail your presentation choice, especially in the modern era when there are so many different ways to tell your story, both in interactive and non-interactive ways. Something that's become a lot more common in the current console generation is video games that are like interactive movie experiences, in several different ways. Deep narratives in games and cinematic presentation has been mainstream for a long time now, since the PS3 360 era, but from what I've noticed, games that stress story and decisions over deep gameplay has really taken off over the last few years. Firewatch, Life is Strange, Oxenfree, What Remains of Edith Finch, and there are more, but all the games I just mentioned have varying levels of gameplay, but at the end of the day are really there to tell a story. Edith Finch ties in several small gaming experiences to help the player connect with the characters that lived in the main setting. Life is Strange brings several different settings to explore, to gain context for the world that you're visiting. Oxenfree uses the radio to bring an extra element to personalize the experience, and also ties you into the dialogue by giving you a time limit to respond. That tests your real-life social abilities by forcing you to make decisions under pressure. The storytellers chose to use video games here because they utilize different ideas and elements that are suited to that form of media. There's also another entry into this genre, one that's almost entirely about the story to the point where it's firmly in walking simulator territory, unlike games like Oxenfree or Life is Strange. Even What Remains of Edith Finch features more elements of gameplay. The game I'm talking about was critically acclaimed when it first came out in 2013. It was given a 10 by IGN. It was given Game of the Year by Polygon. It was given Best Debut Game at the 2014 BAFTA Game Awards. Now, how you feel about game scores, awards, and public perception is up to you. It definitely varies by person. All I'm trying to say here is that the game was received extremely well. So why? What did Gone Home do so well? Why should it be separate from the pack? You start at the front door of a house on a night full of thunder and heavy rain. You're given the context for why you're there. You've returned from overseas and the house is empty. Both your parents and your sister aren't there, despite what you expected. You find the key, open the door, and I should mention this right now, this is not a horror game, despite the presentation. I know I'm not alone when I say I thought it was at first glance. A couple of years ago, when Gone Home was one of the free games of the month on PlayStation Plus, I played it blind, and I was expecting a jump scare constantly for the first 20 minutes before I realized it wasn't that kind of game. Some people, including one of my friends, have criticized the game for not delivering on that first impression. I actually like this, and I apologize if I've spoiled that for you. See, it's a huge house. A character even describes it as a monster house. Exploring it for the first time, it almost feels haunted, a bit supernatural. The whole game takes place during a thunderstorm at night, and one of the rooms has a CRT TV flickering with static and playing a weather warning. The uneasiness and worry about whether you should be on edge in your own house, I think that's an important part of the experience in this first part of the game. After you explore the different rooms in the house, each of which is very detailed with things to move, explore, and learn about each of the absent family members, you'll come across letters to Katie, who is the player character, from her sister. As you move across the house, you uncover more and more about the story of the sister Sam, fully voice acted in a heartfelt and impressive performance by relative unknown Sarah Grayson. That's the game. You go through and uncover each part of the story, learning more about the house and the family by exploring and finding both normal things and secrets, until eventually you get to the attic. The attic is a part of the game that's locked off until you find everything you need to find to get up there. And the attic is where the story concludes and you find out how the story ends, which is something I don't want to spoil. In fact, throughout this video, I'll spoil as little as I can. The plot's great. It's engaging and it's much needed positive representation of the LGBT community in gaming, communicated through a great character. Intelligently, since you're more of an observer for the story, it's set up to work very well for both a general audience and those looking specifically for a game with LGBT themes. As a whole, when I look at those awards and positive scores for the game, I have to think that most of that comes from the story, and I'm not going to disagree. It's fantastic. I mentioned that the voice acting was great, and it's supported by a great script and great design for the setting, as well as a top-notch soundtrack. The journals are superb on their own, and in fact, they stand on their own as a great way to experience what Sam has gone through. You can get the best of this game with the journals alone. And that's the big problem with Gone Home. I could go into the minor problems with the game, the subjective knocks I have against it, like the fact I can't see any of the yard or the outdoors at the start of the game, or outside the windows from inside the house. I think the more details in the surrounding, the better in a game with only one location like this. The Amazing Adventures of Captain Spirit from the Life is Strange series restricted you from going too far away, but you could at least explore the yard and add context around where the house was, in what was also a single setting story. I could talk at length about how the game doesn't suit the out-of-order find a journal format, since it doesn't work particularly well if you're bad at games like that, like I am. I could even offer a suggestion that the game wouldn't have been hurt by giving the player cutscenes or art to go along with the journals to break up the constant view of the one house, and to give context to a few of those journals. In a way, I just did do that, and I do think all of those things can be tweaked to make a better video game. But I have another suggestion. When you have an ambitious idea and an amazing story with excellent audio, the game around the atmosphere can easily look subpar in direct comparison. Gone Home is fine as a walking simulator, but the controls are a bit stiff, and unlike in Life is Strange or Edith Finch, there's no clear reason I feel like I need to be playing this story, like I need to be interacting here rather than just reacting. I felt like there was a piece of the experience, a piece of the puzzle missing when I finished the game for the first time, but I was wrong. After finding a YouTube video that pieced together the journal entries, I closed my eyes and I experienced the journals in order. Not only did the touching story work in this form, it excelled. Granted, I had explored the house so I had visual context, but this was still absolutely the best way I had experienced the story, and it's the way I remember it when I think about it. The gameplay didn't stick with me. What I had experienced in the house didn't stick with me. The story during gameplay didn't present at its best. I didn't miss a piece of the puzzle. There was an extra piece in the box. Gone Home's story and atmosphere are easily the two strongest parts of the experience, leaving the gameplay in the dust. I think the solution to making this the best it could be is to do just that. I said it before, each style of media has strengths and weaknesses, and unfortunately Gone Home doesn't make the most of being a video game. That's why it should be a movie. Or, more accurately, that's why it should be a short film. Presenting Gone Home as a short film could allow a scenario where the initial wonders of the horror-like atmosphere are preserved, and you could also preserve the first-person view through the house, while also adding other angles and pointing the audience in a more scripted, though still human, way through that house. You can keep the anonymity of the audience surrogate while also presenting the journal entries in order. You can make it so the single setting of the house is a strength rather than a weakness. You can make it so a general audience can experience the heartfelt story instead of just those who are skilled at finding clues. You can even experience with cutscenes to contrast that single setting, similar to how Edith Finch treated it. You can use the excellent soundtrack to its full advantage. Video games are a unique and special way for a story to present itself, and you can make interactivity a key part of the experience as a designer and as a storyteller. But sometimes, I almost think it's a better idea to take the controller away from the player and immerse them in the story another way. You can make a complete experience for everyone to enjoy, and I think that would be something special. Gone Home is already special in a lot of ways. I just think it picked the wrong way to present itself. That, unfortunately, limits its potential in more ways than it deserves. Hey everybody, thanks for watching to the end. This was something I really enjoyed making, and I'm happy to finally return to what I was doing with this channel to begin with. Since I'm still a small YouTuber and can afford to do this, I'm only making videos that I'm passionate toward making. Videos that I feel can add to a discussion or provide a unique perspective. I've already got a few more ideas, and I'm gonna hope right now that it won't be over a year before the next one. The Pokemon Nuzlocke I was working on has stalled a bit. I'm just not sure if the interest is there for it to continue, and if it isn't, I'd rather put my time toward bigger projects. I'm also part of a Minecraft server now, and I think it'd be fun to maybe start up a series from there. Nothing concrete yet, though. I'd also just like to thank everyone who watched the SpongeBob video. I was pretty blown away by the response. I wasn't expecting to get as many nice comments as I did, and honestly, every time I see a notification on any of my videos where someone loved it, it just makes my day. So I really, really appreciate all of the positive feedback on that. I'm definitely going to keep going at this. I have no plans to stop or give up or anything like that. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of Gone Home in the comments. I'm curious to hear different responses. This is a game where I feel like everyone who plays it will have a bit of a different response to it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day.